basketball well into my 30s. 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with MS. You would think that I would have started preparing, reading up on how to live with MS. Instead, I pushed it out of my mind the best I could, ignoring its gradual progression until I physically couldn't any longer. One day I was coaching youth basketball and playing pickup games, and the next day I felt stripped of any use across the left side of my body. The one thing I loved most in this world, besides my wife and my family, was basketball. I loved the exercise, I loved the competition, and I loved the camaraderie. Although I've known for a long time I wasn't destined for the NBA, I never thought my athletic career in pickup basketball would end in early retirement. I tried to get to the gym and play, but it typically meant I would fall flat on my face. After a couple of years, I quit trying. I quit playing basketball. I quit exercising, and I quit on myself. One day, my incredible wife and now sports agent told me about a wheelchair basketball program she had heard about, and I reluctantly agreed to go check out some guys playing pickup ball on a Wednesday night. I was not ready to jump into a chair and play. And at that point, I was able to get around fairly well without a wheelchair. As my disability progressed, getting around was becoming increasingly difficult, and it got to a point where using a cane just was not cutting it. My ego was keeping me from getting into a chair, shading myself from the reality that I was months, maybe years overdue. Then one day, a physical therapist told my wife about Seattle Adaptive Sports. I agreed to go check it out. My thought was that I would go to the practice and see what it was all about, but that's all I was going to do. And so I showed up at practice, and I was immediately introduced to Christian and Walter, and they put me into a chair. They pulled me aside from the ongoing practice and had me throw up a few shots. They could see that I had a little form, but I really did not know how to maneuver a chair. And without blinking an eye, Christian basically said to me, "Oh, let's have you jump right into practice." Now keep in mind, everyone was practicing together, the kids, the teenagers, the adults. I had not planned on doing this, but I also wasn't going to chicken out. Although I was lost and confused, everyone there immediately welcomed me, literally helping me learn and understand the basics of pushing a chair. All was going well until Christian got a little frustrated with the team efforts. Isn't that shocking? His whistle blew and called everyone to the baseline, so of course, I had to make my way very slowly to the baseline. And Christian yelled out, "All right, everyone, 3 sets of suicides." Now, if you don't know what suicides are, basically you get up on the baseline and you have to go to the free throw and back, half court back, the next free throw and back, and then the full court and back. He blew the whistle, everyone took off. And within about 3 or 4 minutes, everyone had done their 3 sets of suicides. I was about a third of the way done. So now I've got 30 people, from young kids to teenagers to adults, all sitting there cheering me on. They're like, "Come on, Mike, you can do this, come on, Mike." It was the most embarrassing moment in my entire life. And my wife is watching me, and they're all watching me, but they were cheering me on. And that entire week, I reflected on what that practice meant for me, what it meant to put down my cane and step into a wheelchair, and what it meant to feel a sense of discomfort and true insecurity. But I came back to the next practice, and the next practice, and the next practice, and pretty soon I was part of the team, even competing in tournaments. My first tournament was nationals. Although I was terrible at the start, well, who am I kidding, I'm still terrible, I found something that filled a huge hole in my life. I was a part of a team. I found a community that embraced me and empathized with me and held me accountable to exercise again. And most importantly, I was out there competing. One moment that truly resonates with me is when I got my first big wipeout on the court. It was at a practice, and I felt like I was really finding my groove out there. I had an open look coming into the center of the key, and I was flying. Well, I thought I was flying. I called for the ball and received the pass, and I came in hot and ran head-on into another chair. I flew immediately to the floor. My head smacked down on the court, and blood was everywhere. All I remember is everyone looking down at me in shock. And by the way, it was a charge on my part. It was not As I laid there in a pool of blood, feeling embarrassed for halting practice, all I could think about is one thing. I'm an effing athlete. multiple stitches and a lifetime scar later, that felt awesome. Now I could go on and tell you about all the opportunities Seattle Adaptive Sports has opened for me, but Chris and Ben have limited me to 7 minutes. I'm probably going to go to 8. So I better get to the point. Simply put, Seattle Adaptive Sports improves the quality of life for those with disabilities. Adaptive sports and recreation can help those with disabilities overcome multiple challenges. People who are involved in adaptive sports and recreation in the community are more likely to maintain a positive mood and prevent depression, feel more included and empowered in their communities, connect with positive mentors and peers within the disabled community, and help to hold a steady job. As we celebrate almost 30 years of the American Disabilities Act, the role of adaptive sports has also succeeded in bringing awareness to the importance of making sure that there are no barriers to participate. The continued growth of Paralympic Games and adaptive sports can become even more successful when communities like ourselves can become a tool to promote a healthy, inclusive environment for all people with disabilities. This can improve the overall health of all people when neighborhoods, communities, and societies embrace the role of adaptive sports. Apart from improving health and guarding against future health-related problems, it can be very fulfilling. It can be a brilliant, inclusive activity that can provide a sense of freedom and achievement. Being involved in adaptive sports, either by participation, volunteering, or donating, is a great way to improve the overall health of this community. Disability doesn't discriminate. It can happen to anyone at any time. You never really know when you might need an organization like Seattle Adaptive Sports. That's why, when the time comes this evening to reach into your pockets and give, find it in your hearts to dig as deep as you can. Seattle Adaptive Sports has not only opened a whole new world for me, and frankly, it saved my life. It gives us all hope that no one ever needs to feel left out or left behind. I said at the very beginning that I didn't know why Seattle Adaptive Sports chose my story to be shared with all of you. But I think I get it. I could have been sitting or standing out there in any of the chairs where you are right now. I had never even considered the possibility of disability. My story is special because there's nothing all that special about it. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to share my story with all of you, and please do whatever you can to help us support this amazing organization. Thank you.
You're good. All right, nice job, Mike. Thank you so much. And, as I was listening to Mike, I'm sure as you were, it's just an incredible story, but there's a lot of stories like that. And as I was listening to him and his first experience with Seattle Adaptive Sports, it was actually very similar to mine. I went down to that Wednesday night practice, and I didn't know what to expect. And here's Jake, and I just let it go, and I'm not going to get involved and let him kind of really find his own way. And every single person there brought him in and showed him around. And not only showed him around, but also didn't let him just, pansy around either. They made sure that he was working hard and that he was there to compete. So thank you again, Mike. And let's give Mike another big round of applause. Thank you.